Welcome to Melville Psychiatric Hospital, and welcome to our first episode of a playthrough of Lobotomy. Now, it's October and it's heading toward Halloween, so welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be playing maybe a full normal game of Lobotomy. That means 2 scenarios. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to talk you through some of the setup that I've done. This is the first scenario that we're going to be playing, which kind of dictates how this board is currently set up. And we've got a lot to discuss. In Lobotomy, you are playing patients of the Melville Psychiatric Hospital, where the people in the hospital, the patients that you're playing, are absolutely, unequivocally insane. And the twist on this game, the thing that I really think is cool about Lobotomy, and then I'll tell you first why I haven't played it yet, why it hasn't been on the channel yet. But the thing that's cool is, for your characters, you don't even get to know if this is real or not. It could be completely a hallucination. You know, the warden, the hospital warden, is probably just a dude that's the warden of the hospital. The patients that mental patients that you have to fight are probably just people. The items and stuff that you have probably aren't even real, and your broken down psychoses that you have actually fuel abilities for you. So what's neat about this is we're trying to fulfill an objective based on some psychotic break that we've had and a group shared hallucination that we're experiencing, where we're going through this hospital. It might be real, could be supernatural, maybe not, could just be people that we're just hallucinating all of this, could be nobody, could be we're still stuck in our rooms. I mean, it kind of leaves you with this thought that there's just no grasp on reality for these people, though you're trying to get them through the scenario and through the objectives as if they had their life depended on it, and it does, because they can certainly die and we can certainly lose the game. The game is rather difficult, and so we're very likely to lose it. Now, how the game ratchets up its difficulty is based on how many scenarios you play. A normal game, it consists of 2 scenarios, takes about an hour an hour and 20 minutes, I guess. Actually about 2 hours, sorry. And a easy game would be just 1 scenario. I think I'm going to play normal. We'll see how it goes when we get closer to it. But I'm going to plan to play normal game, which would be 2 scenarios. And our time, we'll talk about our timer, how that counts down. I also want to mention, even though I always do this, I downloaded some player aids, and I kept looking to see if the person who did them had their name listed on it, and I don't see it. But I did want to show them to you. This game requires these. You must get some player aids. I downloaded this one. It's a 2-sheeter, double-sided, pretty cool. And I also downloaded this one. There's a massive amount of symbology in the game. See all this? Yeah. And you won't know what it is. And you have to go back to the book too often. So player aids are critical. I hope if they ever do an update to this or do some expansions to it, they will include some really slick, nice player aids and a rewrite of the rules, which leads me to why I haven't played it yet. While the rules seem straightforward enough, there's a ton of ambiguity in them, and it kind of prohibited me from wanting to put it on the table because I didn't want to screw it up so badly. It was incomprehensible as a game. I've watched a number of, well, there aren't that many playthroughs. I've watched some playthroughs, and I've gone through the stuff online. I've really tried to nail this down so I can at least get through it. I can tell you I'm going to make mistakes because the game is, like I said, there's some nebulous things in it, and while fundamentally it's all going to make sense, we're just going to play this and enjoy it. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is our scenario and our setup. Now, setup is a bit of a beast in Lobotomy. There's a lot you have to do, and you can see that on the board. There's a lot going on in this asylum. But we drew our first scenario, and that is going to be home-cooked dinner. Yeah, you can only imagine, right? And I'll read you what the scenario says in the storyline in a moment. But our objectives are to save the girls by escorting them to the pentagram and defeat the Big Mama. Well, so who are the girls? Well, let's take a look. We got one of the girls down here. Now, these are normally bad guys, but in this case, they're not. And there's one randomly in each quadrant of the board, and we have to escort them to the pentagram, which is right here under this corpse. Once we're there, we can save them, and then in the end, we have to defeat Big Mama. Now, Big Mama is over here. She's standing right down here. This is her, with her big belly sticking out. And what is she trying to do? Well, of course, she's trying to have a home-cooked dinner and eat the girls. Okay. The next scenario trigger will trigger when all the girls are exercised. So when we bring them to the center of the board and exercise them, that's when we know. Now, what does this mean? These little stars mean that there's some triggered events when we're pulling monster cards, which are called movement cards in this game, that tell us how the monsters are going to react to the board. There's some special events that trigger on the green, red, and blue events. And we'll see what those are as we play. It's scenario based, which means we'll take a look at the book part of the scenario right now. Here is the scenario information for Mama's Home Cooked Dinner. So again, our objective is to save the girls. We've randomized Big Mom on the board. We've randomized little girls on the remaining quadrants. We've done that. And the rules. It says the characters have to escort the girls to the pentagram. We already talked about that. I'm not going to get to that. It says if Mama is in a space with a girl, she automatically devours her. So we got to be careful of that. By the way, there is a girl in the room right next to Big Mama, but there's walls there, so Mama has to go up and around to get to her, which is good because the only door is right there, but she doesn't have to go very far. So that is we're probably going to lose her. When that happens, the warden advances 2 spaces. Now, the warden is our timekeeper at this point. If he ever makes it to the center, to the destination, which is the 12 space or the 12 space on the first board up here, or the 12 space on the second board, depending on how many scenarios we could go. If we go 2, it'll be the 12 space on the second board. He will appear here, and we have to fight him, a la AKA Arkham Horror, like we have to fight the big baddie at the end if we fail to hit our objectives in time. Usually, I think that means you lose. Okay, we also have some special things we can force push in this scenario. When a character is 1 space away or on the same space as Big Mama, he can lose 1 insanity and roll an imagination test. We'll talk about that. If he passes it, he can move Big Mama 2 spaces in any direction, not through walls. Okay, so we got to keep track of that. And I told you about the special scenario triggers, or special events on the scenario. So the green is a surge. It means Big Mama gets 1 action point that turn. The blue means the girls attack a monster in their space. Players choose. And surge red means girls attack the character escorting them. And we're going to have a 3-player handicap. Escorting players do not get -1 action point, which we normally would in escorting the girls if we had 4 players, but we only have 3. When using force push, characters get +1 imagination for the purposes of their imagination test. So we know that this is going to be difficult, and that's why, because we're going to be playing only 3 characters, we get that benefit. Now, we've also randomly seeded the board with a number of things, mainly monsters. You can see that we have a couple of them, and I'll just show you what they are. For example, standing here with Big Mama is this fellow. He is a scavenger. Now, I don't know, he's probably just a guy that works like somebody who works in the hospital or something. I don't know, but in this case, he is a scavenger. We're going to take a look at their card. I'll show you what that looks like. Here is the scavenger. Now, he's a basic monster, and that's what this skills. Now, sometimes there will be additional skills on there. The scavenger attacks with 5 dice, and he needs a 5 or better to hit us. He's got a skill called Precision, and I believe, and you have to look these up over and again, but I believe that means when you roll a 6, it's either 2 wounds or an automatic wound. I don't remember. I think it's 2 wounds, or it's automatic wound that bypasses defense. I'll have to look it up as we play. When we encounter it, we'll deal with it. And it says, the old joke is that the psychiatrists are doctors who can't stand the sight of blood. Maybe they can't stand it, but if they work here, they damn well better get used to it. So anyway, that's the scavenger card. And then we also have mental patients around the board. There's a number of those, and I'll pick up one and show you what they look like. There are these bundled up bad guys in straitjackets that look like zombies almost. And here they are. They're another basic one. And again, this is their action. So they only move 1 or attack 1. They don't go very far. They have 4 health. They need a 5 to hit. That's their combat rating. And then they have a defensive 1. They roll 5 dice and have a basic attack. It says, I feel like I am gasping for air, screaming for help, but everyone just looks at me with confused faces. Sorry, the text is incredibly small, so I'm trying to read it to you. Wondering what I'm struggling with when they are all doing just fine, and it makes me feel crazy. So that's the mental patients. They're running around the room. Now, we also have a limited number of nurses. These nurses are bad news too. They're also a basic monster, but they're a little tougher than the mental patients. They only move 1, but they do have 5 health, which is 1 better. They hit better, and they have a defense, and they use 6 dice. And it says, the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty perpetrated by the bad people, but the fact that good people remain silent about it, and that's the nurses. And you can see that they look pretty wicked. There's only 2 nurses on the board because we're playing a 3-player game. Let's see if I can find one. There's one down here in the corner. That is the nurse mini. Pretty cool. All right, now what else do we got going on the board? Well, we didn't talk about Big Mama herself. Here's Big Mama. She's nasty. Now you can see that she is a boss. She has the ability of ethereal, so actually she can pass through walls. She gets, I got to look at what these things, 2 Eternal Grudge, Leech Soul, and Memorable. She's pretty nasty. And then it says equals 4 times the number of players. So her health is actually variable. It's going to be, 4, 8, 6, 4, 8, 12. It's going to be 12. And she only needs a 3 to hit. And you notice you roll, and she gets various random attacks. She also has a 3 defense. She's really tough. Stare at the dark too long, and you will eventually see what isn't there. So this is Big Mama. She's bad news on the board. Yep, she is, and she's already there. And she's going to be eating up little girls if she moves. Now, she will move, but she only moves once. So we can maybe, I don't think we're going to be able to save this little girl down here, but we can probably try and save the other ones. They're very far across the board. All right, those are our bad guys, right? Now we have one more. I'm going to keep it a secret. We have a mini boss, and I'm just going to, you're supposed to pick. I'm just going to keep that one a secret. We're going to talk about our characters now, and we'll start with our first character, which is Peter Constant. This is what a character board looks like. This is their imagination score. I told you about that in the beginning. Now, normally you roll a set of dice, and you have to roll below the imagination score to succeed at whatever you're doing. This is his defense. He's got a defense of 1. His attack, he's a good fighter. His attack is 4. It means he needs a 4 better to hit. He has 9 health, and he gets 3 actions. 3 actions are movement and or investigating a body, picking up a mind shrine thingy, fighting a monster, etc. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can see that he got to choose between 2 mental disorders, schizophrenia and anxiety neurosis. And he started with a wooden cross. We'll take a look at those in a minute. This is his insanity track. We'll deal with that one when the time comes. This is where we put his wounds. He has a special ability, Sharp Mind. Your weapons have an extra die and add +1 to the max. I guess it's their fortitude or whatever of the weapon. As you use it, it'll deteriorate and eventually break. Peter Constant spent his childhood in a strictly Catholic foster home. As his mental disease progressed, he started to hallucinate angels and demons. To get rid of them, he studied exorcisms and occult. Held in the asylum due to multiple suicide attempts. Okay, so this is him, and this is his mini right here. He has a big cross and a Bible. He's running around exorcising demons. But let's take a look at some of the other things. Now, I'm going to tell you that all characters also have this memory deck. And when we get to the memory shrines, which you can see, like there's one here, for example, one up here, we can use an action to draw a card from our memory deck, and these are mostly specific to the character, and they're good things by nature. Now, we do have some items. You saw that we have the wooden cross. So here's the wooden cross. You can see that it can be used. It won't break. Okay, so if we're attacking and we roll a 1, we put a token here that represents that this is wearing down. It does 4. We roll 4 dice, and it has the symbol on there that means it's holy or something like that. It does some extra stuff. We'll take a look at that as we play. And so basically, like I showed you, he rolls 4 dice on this attack. He needs to get a 4 better to actually do a wound. That's his wooden cross. The psychosis, the mental illness that he took, was a schizophrenia. And you can see it's a utility, positive thinking. It costs an action. This is a cooldown timer, and you'll see how that works. It says recover 2 health to a character within range 5. That is a really good ability, so I wanted to get him that. And that's a schizophrenia of positive thinking. I don't know how. Basically, they've turned in their delusionary world, they've turned their mental illnesses, disorders, into powers, right? And then he has 2 that are specific to him. And you have more, but you get to pick 2 at the beginning of the game. So for him, I picked Lifelink. It's an attack. You see that it has a weapon there. Recover health equal to the damage dealt. I love that. Now, again, these have cooldowns, so you can't just use them willy-nilly, right? And then Angel's Favor is a utility. This does not cost an action. It's just part of an attack, but this does. Put a cross token on any space. Characters on that space gain +1 defense, and monsters gain -1 defense. There can be only 1 token on the board at a time. So those are his 2 special abilities, and that is Peter Constant. Next up, we're going to Helena Swan. Now, these characters all represent fictional people. You can, if you can guess who they are, tell you what, we'll play a little game. If you're playing, guess who they are and tell me who you think they are. Post it. Tell me who you think they are. Okay, got Helena Swan here. Now she's got 2 mental disorders, schizophrenia and OCD. I'll show you what she got. She has the gas pipe, which I'll show you in a second. She has a decent imagination, same as Peter. She has 1 defense. Again, a 4 better to hit. She's good. She's got 10 health, and she gets 3 actions. Her ability is Afterlife. After dealing a final blow to a monster, she recovers health. It's pretty good. Helena Swan claims to have been born in 1774. She is able to talk about her life in Victorian England with astonishing detail. She suffered from photophobia and clinical vampirism, admitted to the asylum after being linked to several cases of cannibalism. Yes, this is awesome, Helena. She is our other hero. So the only thing that's kind of interesting about this is you're not really playing. You're playing seriously crazy individuals. And again, she's got a memory deck similar to Peter. They all have one. Her schizophrenia is I kept the schizophrenia ability. It's called Mind Shatter. It's an attack. It does 6 dice. Has some special abilities to it that we'll deal with as we use it. Okay, that means it's a physical attack, not ranged. And again, it has a cooldown. This is her gas pipe. It's a little dark of an image, but there is a gas pipe there. And basically, it's got 5. It can take 5 damage on itself before it's gone, and it does 5 dice when she attacks. So it's pretty good. Really good weapon. Her 2 personal abilities out of the ones that I kept for her are Hypnotizing Eye. It's another attack. It's 8 with a range of 1. 8 dice. Really good. If this attack deals damage, you can move 1 space in any direction and recover health. You notice the theme here. I'm trying to recover some health. I notice people die frequently in this. And then I got Just a Sip. It's a defense. It costs nothing. It says recover 1 and gain avoidance 3 for this round. Avoidance is a special ability that it allows you to avoid certain hits. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then our last character is Bernard Smith. Okay, he again has aggression and OCD. He has broken glass as a starting item. We'll talk about that in a minute. He's only got a 6 in imagination, so he's really just, we need to have him doing other things. He's got 1 defense. He needs 5 or better to hit, so the other ones are actually better to hit. He's got 9 health, but he's got 4 actions. That's pretty good. And you can leave spaces with monsters on them for 2 movement actions. And because normally you cannot leave a space with a monster, but he can. That's pretty good. And it says, Bernard Smith became a con artist early in his life. He has made a hobby of breaking out of jail. When at large, he goes on violent crime sprees with no regard to eluding the law enforcement. Transferred to the asylum after all hopes for resocialization were lost. So he's just a nutcase. Anyway, he too has a memory deck. And he took an OCD. Remember, he had a choice between taking an aggression or OCD. He took an OCD ability. And it says, watch your back. It's a utility. It costs an action. It says, switch spaces with a character in range 3. That character recovers 1 health. So we can do a desperate save, right? He's also got broken glass. It can take 5 damage before it's broken. And it does 5 dice. It says, you may modify the results of 1 die by 1. That's pretty good. So it's his broken glass that he starts with. His 2 personal abilities we kept were Hit and Run. It's an attack. He gains a range 2 and an extra die on the attack. That's pretty powerful stuff. So we'll use that, I'm sure. And then Street Smarts, utility, costs none. Recover 2 health, or remove a door token from your space, or automatically pass a search test. Draw 2 cards from a single inventory deck. Put 1 in your inventory and the other and discard the others. So yeah, one of the things that we did in the setup is, let me show you a little closer. This is a good area. There are these chests and things down here, right? There are also doors. You see there's a body there, memory shrine. And these things, when I flip them over, have stuff or nothing on them to get. And those allow us to get additional inventory items, which could be drugs, could be all kinds of things that can help us along the way as we try and save these girls from Big Mama and then take out Big Mama. So those were our characters. And I basically... how does a round work? Well, the first thing is we're going to take our player actions. And again, players use their actions that I showed you on the board. So in the case of Peter and Helena, they have 3 actions and Bernard has 4. They can move a space, that's an action. They can take an action like to investigate a body. In this case, they can also take an action to escort one of the young ladies. Once they pick her up, they'll follow her back to the space. Good news is we got one pretty close to us that we can probably get back to the pentagram very, very quickly. And we need to do that because we're going to have to rush down and get that one away from Big Mama. Because, again, I think there's one we're not going to be able to save. And then, let's see. And with the other things we can do, we have a lot of abilities we can do, actually. I'm going to show you another card for a moment because we can spend Insanity to do a number of things too. Now, what that does is it allows us to spend a point. We can add one of these dice to an attack. This is a Chaos die. It can either give +1 to a die modifier or actually do some hits. We also have a defense die we can do that with. And we also have some other things, like we can do this thing called an Insomnia Shift, which one is Defy Time, and we get an extra action once per player, or Defy Gravity, we can change the die result by 1. Not the Chaos die or defense die, though. We also, there's also some things we can do with the Warden in those cases, but basically there's a number of things we can do, and without these player aids, you would lose track of them very, very quickly, and I probably will lose track of some of them anyway. Now, when we investigate these bodies, these are also like the chests and stuff, the cupboards and that we can investigate. There's usually either something or nothing on them. And then after all of us have taken all of our actions, and again, we have a long list of actions that we can actually take. I'll just read through them. Action points: we can move, we can search a locker, we can open a door. If it's barricaded or locked, we have to take some special actions after that. And monsters can pass through doors until we've checked them. If we check a door and it's locked or barricaded, the monster actually can't just move through it, which is actually not a bad thing. We can run, which means we have to use all of our actions for movement, but we gain +2 action points. We also have some free actions. We can trade 2 memories for 1 basic skill. We can remove memories from the game. We can use meds. We can spend Insanity, or we can do an Insomnia Shift. Okay. Basically, those are the list of typical actions. Now, once we have gone through all of our actions, we're going to draw a movement card, which is this big deck here. And I will take one in the middle just to give you an example of what that looks like. So in this case, and I'll just shuffle it back in. There's no event, so we're going to read it top to bottom. There's no event. We're going to place out a new memory shrine. The Warden, that means the Warden moves 1. And if there were some stars here, we would do those special things that are related to this scenario. And then we're going to place out... Now, if we were 4 players, we'd place out all 3 monsters. But because we're 3, we'd only place out these 2. Okay, and really, guys, I think that's kind of a long starting video with the setup. I will get into the rest of it. I'm sorry, I'm shuffling the movement deck back up. I will get into the rest of it as we play. There's all kinds of things that can happen during the game. New monsters will come out. They'll move. Oh, before we draw this movement card, or after we draw the movement card, but before we spawn new monsters, we'll also move the monsters that are on the board. And that's basically the game. Now, again, it all sounds really straightforward, and it is, until you run into some weird scenarios, and then the rules get a little nebulous on you. But we're not going to... Well, maybe we'll take our first turns in this, because I think they'll be relatively fast. And we'll take it in this episode. I think we're going to start our first player, is the most insane, which we'll say is Bernard, because he's also the fastest. And I think we're going to send him down to help a little girl in desperate need. Now, he's got 4 actions, but he is close to a baddie, and I don't think we want to be fighting right away, but why don't we take our first round of actions, complete our first bad guy turn, and then we'll move on and see what happens next. All right, so we're going to start with Bernard. He is the yellow-based player. No, I'm sorry. He is not. He is the blue-based player right here, and we're going to have him move, take his 4 actions. So for his first action, he's going to go 1. We're not going to pick this body up. He's going to go 2. 3, gosh, so here's, see, already our first dilemma. If I move farther, this guy will move on to me. I could stop there. You know what we could do? We could go 1, yeah, pick this token up instead. We're going to do that. We're going to take an action to pick up this body. That is a item. That is awesome. So that means we're going to get to draw a weapon from this deck. Not a bad start, even though he has a decent weapon with his broken glass. I haven't shuffled these, so I'm just going to give him a quick shuffle. And we're going to pick up a weapon off this body that was there under the pentagram, or over the pentagram, rather. And that means this will be discarded for now. There could be circumstances where we place some out again, but anyway, let's see what we get. We get a lobotomy spike. Okay, this is a weapon that actually belongs to another of the players. I don't think you take these out. But it rolls 4 dice, and if you roll at least 1, add a chaos die. If you roll at least 1, 6, rather. It's really hard to see there, but it's a 6. Add 1 chaos die, even if you used a blah to add another one, insanity to use another one. And it's got 4 charges before it breaks, right? So, okay, that was his second action. So third action, fourth action, he stops right there. We'll end it at that spot. Now, we do have to get these little girls from all over the board, right? So I think we're going to start, I think it's wise to separate. I'm not sure, to be honest. And I've kind of given up hope on this little one because Big Mama is going to be able to pass through this wall right here with her ethereal ability and just gobble her up. That means that the warden is going to take a big move first. But if we can get to her, see, we're pretty close to getting to her, and I think that's what we're going to beeline for. But do we try and fight off some of the monsters on the way? Do we stick some people together, or do we break them apart and try and get some things done? Because we have a little girl up here, and a little girl over here, way up at the extremes of the board. So I think what we'll do next, so next will be Peter. Peter is this character here, so I think he's just going to go one out to here. Yeah, he's not, I mean, the warden's not really a threat unless you move into a space, and that's just a dumb thing to do. So I think we're going to go after this girl with him. 2, 3, and that's going to be the end of his turn. He just moved in that space. He's expecting this this scavenger to start coming. Wait, the scavengers move too, right? Yeah, that's not good. I think we're just going to move right there, and then for his last action, he won't do anything. He's just going to wait right there, because that could be bad news for us. And then for, let's see, for Helena, she's going to just take off and go 1, 2, and 3. She's not really at any risk of any of the creatures, getting to her. This scavenger has to move all the way through there, and the nurse only moves 1. So it'll be a little while. Well, let me see. So she moved, yeah, 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, that's it for her. She's only got 3 actions that she can take. Okay. All right, and that's it at the end of the first turn. I figured it would go really fast. It wouldn't be horribly exciting. So we're going to get on to the monster phase now and see what happens. Here's our deck. Let's go down and take a look. Okay, boosh, what do we get? Okay, Shattering Screech. Characters roll an imagination test. If fail, they lose a health. Oh, that's bad. All right, well, let's roll an imagination test. So how do you do that? So it's right here in this handy-dandy player aid. Roll 2d6. And it has to be less than your imagination. So we'll start with Peter. He's got an imagination of 7. So we know that we have to roll a 7 or less. I'll just move the cards out of the way for right now. We'll put this back over here. We'll keep this out. We'll roll. He has to roll 7 or less on his dice, or he takes a wound. Well, he rolled a 3, so he's fine. Helena has an imagination of 7 as well. 7 exactly, so she's fine. And then Bernard needs to roll 6 or less. He did not, so he is going to take a wound, and that is this right here. So let's go put that on his board. Sorry, it's not a wound, it's a sanity, so he's going to put a marker there, and then this will start going up the track. So right now, he has taken a hit to his sanity just a little bit. Now remember, we want to keep those because we get to use them for special abilities as we continue on. All right, and that was the special event on the card. Next up, we see that there is a green marker there, which means that we're going to trigger one of the special events for this scenario. The green one is which? Mama's Surge Green. Big Mama gets 1 extra action point this round, so she is not just going to move. She is going to eat the little girl. All right, well, we'll deal with that in a second. So that was that. Then the next thing is the warden does move a space. So he goes to right here. He's clunking along. He's probably just literally some guy checking out to make sure everybody's going to bed when they're supposed to, things of that nature. But it is what it is. Now we move everybody, because we're going to move everybody first. We'll start with all the mental patients, because they move 1. Actually, it's probably better just to do it by quadrant. So they're going to move toward the nearest character. So right now they're all on this side. So he's just going to move out this door on his way over there. He's heading that direction. This scavenger can move 2. He's going to go 1 and then 2 out of this hallway. Big Mama is beelining toward a girl. Now again, she's got ethereal, which means that she can move in different ways. And I really need to keep my stuff more handy so I can keep looking at special abilities, because she's got a number of them, and until I'm really familiar with them, it's not going to be helpful to not have the sheet right handy. So ethereal, let's look at that. Ethereal, okay. Ethereal moves through walls, doors. Ethereal players can move from non-ethereal monsters. So if you're not ethereal yourself, you can move away from non-ethereal monsters in your space, but that doesn't matter here. So she gets a 1 there, and then based on the scenario, she has another action point because of that star on there. So based on the scenario, it says the big mama tries to eat girls and always moves toward the closest one. If mama is on a space with a girl, she automatically devours it. If that happens, then move the warden 2 spaces on the insomnia track and randomize the girl back onto the board. Wow, so she could just keep getting into trouble. All right, so basically, boom, she sucks it up. Okay, then we know there's another girl here, so we're going to move Big Mama right to, actually, yeah, she's going to move to here for a second action. She sucks her up. That means the warden actually goes 3, 4. He's moving way too fast. That's bad. And then we're going to randomize her back on the board. What does that mean? It means we're going to roll these dice, and this is going to determine which quadrant, and this is going to determine the space. So she goes to quadrant 1, space 4, which means the A quadrant is quadrant 1, and space 4 is right where the warden is. Now the warden doesn't hurt her, so she's just right there with the warden. Not a big deal. But that means we got 2 girls there. We can have both of them follow us out to the pentagram. That might be actually very, very helpful. Remember, we have to get all of them off the board, though. So, all right. And next up, we're going to continue to move our monsters. That was quadrant, the bottom quadrant we moved them on. So let's go to the next one over. Okay, bad beasties. Now, the nurse here, she just moves 1. He's going to move to the closest character. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, he'll 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, he'll move 1, 2 to there. He'll move out to here, and that's all the monster movement for that quadrant. Up here we do have a number of monsters. This guy's only 3 away from here, so he's going to move to there. He moves 2. Remember, the scavengers move 2. He is probably, let's see, is he closer than 1, 2, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, oh, 4, yeah. So he'll go 1 and 2 to there. And then up in the top part we have a nurse. The nurse will move into here because that would make the most sense. And that's it. Now let's go to the other side. Over here, we got a couple monsters to move. This scavenger will move to here. This patient will move out to here, and that's it. That is, now, we do some spawning, though. We got 2 more patients that are going to come out on the board in random locations, so let's roll. All right, we're going to roll the dice, see what we get. The first one is going to be in quadrant 4, so right above us here, in space 3. So that means space 3 is going to be over here. That's actually good. He's out of the way. And then the second mental patient we're going to put out is going into quadrant 1, space 7. So this is a busy, busy area up here. We're definitely glad I'm sending both characters in that general direction. But this, Helena is trying to get to that girl up there. Well, that's basically a round, guys. So this card then becomes a discard. We just put it away. And we haven't had any combat or anything, but we do have some looming monsters we're going to have to clear off the board. Last thing we do is we're going to move the first player token up to Peter, and we'll continue on the next episode. So guys, that is our first episode of the very chilling Lobotomy. I hope you enjoyed my little introduction that I produced for this game, and I hope you enjoy the gameplay. It is fairly straightforward. Like I said, we're going to run into some scenarios where I'm going to have some mistakes happen because of all the stuff you have to keep track of and some of the weirdness in the rules with the ethereal and stuff like that. Anyway, it's much clearer now that there's some good player aids and people have played it a bit and kind of house ruled some stuff and made it better. It's a cool game. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be on the table if I didn't. I don't play games I don't like. But like I said, I hadn't played it because of some of the rules challenges. But guys, I will see you in the next episode. Let's see what happens as we continue to run through the asylum and try and save these little girls that probably aren't even little girls. They might just be dolls or I don't know, blood bags or saline solution bags or pillows. I don't know what they are, but they're probably not little girls. Anyway, it doesn't matter to us. We think they are in our shared hallucination and our events. Now, here's the crazy thing. What if it's all real? Yeah, could be. That's the whole nature of the game. Anyway, guys, we'll see you in the next episode, so take care, and I will talk to you soon. Enjoy the month of October, and Halloween is coming, and this is why we're playing these games, so take care. Bye-bye.